This video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have the top 16 deck list from the Too Many Games Con regional that happened this past weekend. It was 216 players, and it was hosted by PPG, who gave me these lists to give to you guys. Also, if you guys want to see the VODs of this tournament, there's going to be a link in the description. There's also a link on this sheet, which is also linked in the description of this video. But this is technically the first EX2 tournament for North America. I do say technically because it was released the day before this tournament was, and looking through the list for the event, there were not a lot of people playing EX2, so I think this is more of a taste, not necessarily a good show of how EX2 is probably going to, be in this meta. But we will have 3 more tournaments in these next 3 weeks with both the EX2 and BT8 meta, so I'm sure we're going to see a little bit more from there. So going over the topping list, though, this is a very healthy pie chart of 3 Imperialdramons, 2 Mastemons, 2 yellow hybrids, 2 blue hybrid with 1 taking the tournament, 2 red hybrids, a BlackWarGreymon, a D-Reaper, an X-Antibody, a Beelzemon, and a security control. So those are the top lists. We're going to go over the top 1 of each category, and we're going to start off with the first place list. So here's Jackson Hoang's first place blue hybrid list, and I've said first place blue hybrid probably a dozen times in the past couple weeks. It's been doing well. It's going to continue doing well. It should not be a surprise for you guys. It is just a deck that kind of lives at its own spot all the time, but that does not mean you have to be a bad player to do well with this. I think Jackson did a very good job piling this list, and I think in general people kind of underestimate how many decisions are made for this. It's a very, very grindy list where sometimes one memory can be the difference between winning and losing a lot of the time, and you have to choose how to use your hammer sparks and like everything else. It's a very, very strong list and strong archetype, as you guys have probably known. I will say some tiny adjustments probably for the EX2 meta that I saw are the Matt Ashitas at 4 and the Sora and Joe, with D-Reaper assumedly being one of the strongest decks in the archetype right now, or at least in the meta right now. These are fantastic. You almost immediately get their value back as soon as you play them, where they're just that good. Innocence Blizzard at 2, most people are playing at 1 or 0, so a little bit more on the source control side for all this, and I think that kind of pays off throughout the game. So congrats to Jackson for winning the event there. I don't have a lot to say about this that I haven't said for the last couple of months, but Blue Hybrid is still good, and it's super cheap. So if you if you don't know what to play and you're trying to get in the game, this is still a good list to kind of teach you the fundamentals, let's say, of everything. So we have that there, and then second place and surprise top 4 had 2 red hybrids, but this is one of them. This is Khang, and it is red hybrid Greymon, ancient Greymon OTK, as I like to say it as well. It's very, very strong, and I think this choice for this deck was fantastic for the kind of the weekend that it is. There's a lot of people trying some new stuff, and a lot of the times they won't add a blocker, and because if they don't, this ancient Greymon just beats you in one turn. You can't do anything about it. So I think this has a good matchup against a lot of decks in the meta too, like yellow hybrid, and also and sometimes blue hybrid can't do anything about this, especially if they can't trigger any of their options in security. And obviously if you're faster than D-Reaper, then you're in a good spot most of the time. So I like the tech choice. I like the build. I'd say nothing really new. The only EX2 card is the Fireball, which lets you delete one of your opponents with 3k DP or less. If there wasn't anything deleted, you get to draw 2. So that's kind of nice. It's a kind of nice little cute little draw 2 if you need it, which red does a lot of the time. So I think it's a good choice there. So congrats to Khang there with their red hybrid. And moving on, we do have Phillip Steinberg's Mastemon. We've been seeing a lot of Mastemon lately. There's 2 on this weekend. And I think we're kind of generally figuring out the main staples on the list. Being able to run a deck that runs Psychemon in the deck naturally is already pretty strong. We do have 2 Gazis. We have a Candlemon. Like Gazi and Psychemon in the same archetype is just very, very good. And then we also have the Salmons, and then I'd say like the normal stuff, the Gautamons, the Black Gautamons for potential rush win. We have the Chaos modes. I think we've decided that 2 is the amount that we run. We run like 1 or 2 Dead or Alives. We want as many Flame Hellscythes as we want, and then Chaos Degradation. And I've been warming up to this card. I felt like it was too strong, but honestly, Dead or Alive is fine, but it's super inconsistent for what you're doing. So being able to run Chaos Degrade to just have something to do at 8 is good. And so we're also running Kari's as our tamer just so we have a yellow source all the time, which can sometimes be an issue with a deck like this. And yeah, we've just seen, I don't know, Mastemon's a strong list. It's doing well. No changes from EX2, as you guys can see. But congrats to Phillip on their finish there. Next up, we do have our top 8. So, surprising, Imperialdramon has seemed to be doing very, very well in the very sense of people are wanting to run this list. People are wanting to play it a lot. And then it gets a lot of top 16 finishes, but it doesn't ever win the event, which I find interesting. I don't know if it's just a lot of people are playing the list or just, people who are finishing first or choosing decks that they know how to play against Imperialdramon. But it's been really curious to see it just get so close or get, the big chunk of the pie chart. It's the biggest chunk for this one, and still not get that W. But a couple of interesting EX2 choices made. First, the Labramon. So this is a rookie inherited effect of when attacking once per turn. If this Digimon has jamming, you get to gain 1 memory. So the kind of really good combo with this is if you go here, you go into XVmon, you swing, you get the memory, and then if you are able to go into a DNA evolution to Imperialdramon, you get to swing again, which means it will have jamming thanks to the XVmon, and then you get to you gain another memory off that. So that's great. And then if you're able to just keep it going with the Imperialdramons, or in the very least, it just makes your Dragon mode cost 2 cheaper, which can be very good in the deck. Obviously, you could make it cost 1 cheaper with the Vmon if you swing with this, but the double swing with the Labramon as well, just underneath the XVmon and then underneath the Imperialdramon, could make the difference of you're going into Imperialdramon and then keeping it your turn, which means you go into another Imperialdramon. So very strong stuff there, and I think that Labramon is a great extension for you there. We're also running 1 Leomon. Opponent's turn, when you have a tamer in play, this gains blocker, and then on deletion you gain 2 memory and draw 1. So I think this is probably just a little bit better than the Magnamon strictly for this list, just because the yellow part doesn't do anything, and you get to Digivolve for only 2 to get a blocker, which is quite nice. And so I think that's a good thing. And then also, not only is it blocker, but if you're very good at like memory choking your opponent, if it dies, you can not only get your draw, but you can also pass it back to your turn, which I think is a good thing, especially something like D-Reaper. If they go exactly into the Reaper and they have 0 memory and you block, not only do you prevent an attack, but you get to just switch it back to your turn, which is quite nice. So I like the little ads there, and congrats to Titus for their finish. Next up, we do have Russell Smith's Security Control, and this is a really nasty list, and I mean that in both the best and worst ways. There are a lot of good cards and very obnoxious cards here. So the kind of ideas, or at least the big ad, it's only 1 card, but it's a super sick card. It is the Crimson mode, which you can go on top of the Avenged Kidmon. So this is good for recycling your own cards and preventing your own kind of mill out. So when playing this card from your hand, reduces memory cost by 1 for each option card in your and your opponent's trashes, and then on play, return all cards with 3 Musketeers and their traits and all option cards from both players' trash to the bottom of their owner's decks. And then if 7 or more, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 8k DP or less R, 3 Musketeers, but that's pretty archetype specific. So this is really good late game, or even mid game when you're doing as many options as this deck is. So it's a very, again, grindy match, but it's usually best of 1 because you will not be playing 2 games in 50 minutes with this list. But being able to go into Crimson mode and have like a potential like additional win with this is really neat. I think that's really fun, especially if you have your reinforcing memory boost in Kari. So if you played Avenged Kidmon last turn, and you just hard cast you can Digivolve on top. This can win you the game because it trashes based on your opponent's cards in trash. So if they have 20 cards in their trash, this does 3 security damage, and then you get to check for 2 more. So it's not very difficult for this just to win in 1 strike and not be able to get interacted because it trashes security. It doesn't really check them. So I think that's a cute ad. Junomon also, when Digivolving, you get to trash the top 3 cards of your deck and then add 1 Digimon from your trash to it, so you can find whatever card you're missing. Or if your Chaos mode gets, your Gallimon Crimson mode gets put in your trash early, you can find it from there. So I like this list. I do not like playing against it. Oh, also the egg, the Veximon. So you can bring up a Patamon or something, and then if you play like a Flame Hellscythe, you're able to Draw an additional card with this too, so draw a card, drawing a card is very, very good in card games, so it does help there. I don't know, a lot of cool, neat little stuff. I like the deck, and again, I do not like playing against it too. So congrats to Russell for the top 6 finish there. Next up, we do have Corey Edwards X-Antibody, and this is one of the I like something. I'm surprised by how many red Ancient Gray OTKs, because normally I put like BlackWarGreymon, X-Antibody, and red gray or Ancient Gray OTK all in the same build. Of there's probably going to be like 1 or 2 in the top 16, but it's never going to win the event. And it did not win the event, but there was 1 of each in this event, which I think is kind of remarkable. And could just be part of the meta where a lot of people are being a little bit more slow or grindy or greedy with their plays, which just means that a deck like this that can get rid of all your security very quickly if unchecked can do very, very well. So not a lot of choices. I think the biggest choice that I saw was that the Chaosmon, which not a lot of people I see are playing it, but this also just lets you attack unsuspended Digimon, so you're able to just swing into your opponent's Mother D Reaper and get rid of it, which is important in this meta. So it's cool that black and green get this like option to do so, and it's just a good card anyway, generically. So what you could do is you can swing with Alphamon, get the plus, pay 2 memory to get the plus 2k to make it a 13k, and then Digivolve into Chaosmon, unsuspend, let you swing, and then it becomes a 16k because the plus 2k inherits. There's probably some other potential additions there too, but maybe not actually. Maybe not. Maybe is this this one too, yeah, because when you put a card underneath, you get plus 2k, so that's quite nice. And so yeah, you're really able to get rid of Mother, which I think is good. So a deck like this that has access to Chaosmon, I think can be good in a meta, at least beat the gatekeeper of the meta, which is the Mother list. So congrats to their finish there, and I think we'll probably see a little bit more X-Antibody as the meta develops. So next up we have Kristian's Yellow Hybrid, and I don't have a lot to say about Yellow Hybrid like I did with Blue Hybrid. It's been good for a while, and I think it's going to continue being good for a while. It's very just kind of archetype specific in the sense that a lot of people build the deck very, very similar. It's very strong in that sense. And then there's some small choices for you to make, and then just how you play the game is up to you. So some choices that I've seen in this build, specifically Holy Flame. We've seen this before, but I think this is going to be almost a staple for these lists. I think a lot of decks are just going to be very aggressive, especially Reaper. This is one of the few cards in security that can prevent your opponent from using just winning from game, because it gives security attack -1 to everything, but also gives it security attack -1 to cards that haven't hit the board yet. So you can't just do the Blue Hybrid thing where you just Digivolve on top of your Tamers 1 by 1 and swing in 1 at 1. So this is one of your better security cards for that sense. And then also adding the Avenged Kidmon in the main is an interesting choice. I guess it's just to present the deck out of yourself, and depends on the matchup as well. But hard casting, it's not the worst, especially since you can Digivolve on top of it with Susanamon if needed. Though I don't think that's a common play, but being able to reduce the cost of it by 1 for each option card in both players' trashes means it's very easy to play this later game. Also, I haven't said this in this video yet, but I can. It's Dragonkin for whatever reason, so go for it, play it. You can search it. There's some fun things you can do with it. So that's all I got to say with it, but it's definitely an interesting choice there. Next up, we do have our Jared Smith's BlackWarGreymon. So again, one of each of these 3 kind of like on my radar of like a red aggro, a red-black aggro kind of nonsense. This one is interesting, more like a mid-range list if you see the cards in it. So we do have the, I'd say, standard base. We have some Agumons, we have some Greymons, we have the security attack +1, we have the GeoGreymon, we have 4 of the Metal Greymon, which is super duper good because you are able to swing over D Reaper with this. So I think that's one of the big things for the BlackWarGreymon list. Using the Hero Tamer as well, probably for the just the thing that gives you plus 2k. So if you have BlackWarGreymon with Hero out, and then either of these Agumons, you can either Greymon, one of these 3, you're able to swing over or at least trade with the Agumon there. Which is good enough, especially with Chimeramon, though. You can Chimeramon to get like a Metal Gray underneath it from trash, and then you have like 2 Agus from their other. There's plays for this which are really, really good. So it does have to be like Dragon Cannon Machine, which I don't think that you're able to with X-Antibody swing over it. No, but there's just a lot of potential with this, especially using the BlackWarGreymon as like your OTK tool. So if you're able to Chimeramon into like a really large stack that has the Greymons, as well as use a Delicate Plan on it too. It's just, you just win the game almost all the time. It's very, very good. So here's the list. I think we'll see some more BlackWarGreymon in the next couple weeks. I think it's good in the meta now, and I think we'll still see it. And then lastly, we're going to talk about our 2 EX2 finishers. So I don't have a lot to say about Mother D Reaper that I haven't said for pretty much the entirety of this video. I feel like I keep bringing it up every deck since it is the new boy, or should I say new girl with the mothers here, but it's a strong list. It's pretty linear, so that is the best and worst thing about it. I'd say Izzy's list runs a lot of yellow things. The Spiral Masquerade is a good pick, and not in my current build that I've been meaning to add for a while, so I think I will add it there. And then 2 TK Karis, and then 2 Karis just for the not only do you get the memory for to get to 3 every turn, but you have quite a bit of your recovery mechanics, including the reinforcing memory boost, or even just hard casting a gatekeeper, making this cost 1 less can be quite good, or even potentially gaining a memory. No, you can't gain a memory with this, unless you have like 11 sources underneath here, which is not impossible, but it is improbable. But yeah, I think this is a very obnoxious list, and I think we're going to see more and more Mother in the next couple of weeks as people get the cards and people experiment and test it and decide, you know what, I'm going to play this list and I'm going to do well with it. So congrats to Izzy for the top 16. And then lastly, we do have Beelzemon. I'm going to say like every way I can, so one of them is right. And we have our Impmons. We have our the scatter mode, which we don't even have the Eismon not scatter mode, which is interesting. But yeah, I think this is a strong list. I think the only thing wrong with it is that it's very, very RNG heavy, because you do have to find the cards in your trash, or you have to sometimes hit them at the right times. Interesting ratios based on my own testing with it. Only 3 of the tamers, and then there's also none of the missed memory boost, which I would assume people would want to run because getting that extra memory and starting to fill your trash is good. As well as only 2 blast modes, which I started playing 4 blast modes, but I found it was too many times there. I just had too many in hand. And I mean, getting the card effect from trash is nice, but it's not, you never want to rely on it because it will never happen when you want to. It's usually just like a nice little +1 instead of something you can rely on. So I do like that there. It's like just as 2, because you just have to digivolve it from the trash. It's not from your hand either. So getting 1 into your trash when you're about to do your blast mode plays, I don't think is too difficult. The Soulmons and the Skull Satamons are, I think, a good package. Getting that extra memory every time you trash a card for the first time in that turn. Skull Satamon being able to get a Demon Lord from your trades back to your hands too. There's just a lot of good, I think, recursion with this, which is what you need for the list. So again, congrats to Eduardo with this build. I think that, again, I'd probably run not this build, but I was going to run the archetype in general, and I'm gonna be interested to see if more people play it. There's not a lot that played for this tournament in the first place, so we'll see if more people get more of the cards and make their own builds for the next ones. But that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Again, make sure to hit the like button and the subscription button if you guys enjoy this video. If you got at this point in the video, you must like my content, because it's been quite the tirade of comments here. So, but that's going to be it for me. Thank you again to PPG for giving me these lists to give to you guys and for hosting the event. Make sure to check out their VODs on their Twitch, and that's going to be it for me. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.